Entry 8. Ouroboros. It was us all along. Us. We were chasing our own tails. And Ouroboros. But that wasn't important right now. Maisie Krylov introduced herself and told me a bit about her story, her weird crew of outcasts, artifact hunting, and the Unity, whatever that truly is. So, you're saying everything we've been investigating was all somehow a part of Cassie's plan to lure us here and attempt to kill you? I asked, wanting to verify the information. More of take over us, Krylov replied, speaking for herself and Claudiel, guardian of time, or whatever was also her. Control over time and all that. Cool. And so Canopy agreed to steal this Book of Life? Yeah, Canopy replied. I mean, Cassie seems like a big threat. But one question. How can we trust you? You don't, Krylov laughed. Why would you trust anyone? This is how I've survived all these years. I've never trusted anyone. Right, I responded. Anyway, thanks for, saving me with that whole weird house and shadow person thing. What are you talking about? Krylov inquired, a puzzled look on her face. I never did anything with any houses or shadow people. You didn't? No, she clarified. I just opened a portal and grabbed you. What do you mean by house and shadow people? That wasn't you? We have no idea what you're talking about, Rainey, Canopy pointed out. That can't be, I said. Okay, I'll try to explain what happened. So, I just ran and then saw this, well, a shadow person sort of led me away from Cassie, and then, well, it led me to a door, and then I ended up in the house. The house from the first case with the weird music and the weird suit guy, that is. The one in the fancy community? Canopy questioned. That one, I replied. That wasn't me, Maisie repeated. I don't know who could have done that, but they were somehow able to get into that weird alternate New Varela place. No, I think something's odd too, Canopy realized. Remember that my sister called and was like a fake me was with her? Yeah, what was that? If that was one of Cassie's mannequin servants, began Canopy, she could have just taken Artemia hostage and trapped us. Why go through all the trouble to magicking New Varela? And then the masks. But I assume that's related to you, Krylov. No? What masks? Maisie tilted her head, confused. The weird, almost featureless masks, I replied. The ones that were... Actually, I'll show you. I showed Maisie our documentation on the masks and the people outside our Watchtower base. I recognize those masks, Maisie answered. They're used for invisibility, but they aren't really good at it. But I haven't used them. And for all I know, Cassie doesn't have them. Because, well, I made the masks myself. Then how... Maisie snapped her fingers and suddenly 4 of the masks appeared on the floor. Before anyone could utter a single word, the entire world seemed to shift and then shake, like an earthquake was happening. We held on to the things in the room, and it soon stopped. What was that? Canopy exclaimed, confused. That was... I sense the power of life. But the book's ours now. How can... Wait, Canopy started. Cassie ripped out some pages. Damn it, Maisie growled. She's regenerating the book with those pages, which means... Means? I inquired. She'll have the book back, and we'll all be back from where we started. And I assume we can't have that, I said. So what are we going to do? Cassie's probably in the Garden of Eden, regenerating her book. Her power will be too strong there, and... Did you say Garden of Eden? Canopy gasped. Yes, weird place, talking mouth mushrooms, weird whales. Wait, we've been there. Me and Canopy, I revealed. Weird place. We saw a cabin there with living mannequins and... That's impossible, Maisie cut in. Living mannequins wouldn't be able to exist there. It's still part of the Unity, even under Cassie's control. Then how? Canopy piped. I know, Maisie smiled. Time travel. With that, me and Canopy could only watch as Maisie began to explain that we had one last chance to set things right and back on the proper path. Right now, Cassie was in the Garden of Eden, which meant we were safe. It also meant that she didn't have any real power yet, which in turn meant we had a chance to fix everything by going into the past and stopping Cassie before things got worse. Wait, I thought you already tried time travel, Canopy asked. No. See, I can't time travel myself and cause big changes. But you two can, Maisie explained. So what I'm going to do is hopefully send you two to 2 points in time since you all began investigating the mannequins. Then, while there, you two will attempt to capture Cassie, and when you do, I will send you back here into the Unity. Wait, why can't you just use your weird portal magic thing and grab her? I asked. She'll be able to sense my magic. Ah. Once we have her here, the effects of time itself will take its effect on her, erasing the paradox forever. In fact, it should erase the bloodline, preventing all this madness and everything wrong in the world. Why Cassie? Canopy asked. Why not her ancestor or something? It won't work. Cassie is the biggest error on the timeline. That's why we need to stop her. We still don't trust you, I reminded. How can we know you won't take over the world after all's well and good? I don't need to. I am time. And well, we, as time, take everything eventually. Good point. So, you two ready or what? Maisie smiled. I'm ready, I announced. As am I, Canopy agreed. Then may time flow in your favor, Maisie said, while tossing us some weird-colored rocks. Squeeze the rocks to talk to me. All right. And then before I could say anything else, the floor opened beneath us and we both yelped as we fell through time and space. We were time traveling. We were now in this weird corridor, falling, as we could see events from history take place. Dinosaurs living, bizarre future animals, and other bizarre things. On the way, I did notice myself and the people in the photograph I had seen in the house. It seemed like I was having an awesome time with them. Yet, I still knew nothing about the event. Finally, I decided it must be an event in my future. Meanwhile, Canopy, for his part, simply marveled as we watched falling stars and historical wonders unfold around us. But then it all stopped, turning to darkness, and suddenly we found ourselves falling onto the floor of the haunted house's topmost room, landing and making a loud thud. I heard some teens on the floor below and then realized it was us. Us! We were the thud the teens had heard. But the shadow figures. And then I noticed our clothes and skin. It was as if we were phasing out of reality, turning to shadows and then back to normal. It was us all along, Canopy murmured. We were the shadow people the teens saw. And that's why past us investigated here. Suddenly we heard the room's door being opened, and the two of us saw a few teens gasp in fear at our strange shadowy forms, and then run away. Wait, that means we're too deep in the past. Canopy squeezed his rock, and suddenly we heard the voice of Maisie Krylov in our heads. Hi, sorry about that. Claudielle and I haven't mastered the intricacies of time travel, apologized Maisie. But our being here caused our own selves to investigate this place, Canopy pointed out. What if it's all us? It's us that caused all the weird things to happen. Well, time does work in mysterious ways. With that, the world shifted, and then we were at the proper place. No, time. We went down to the second floor of the house, and through the windows we saw ourselves, the past versions, arriving outside. They got out and did what we did, and then read the rules. I remember you investigated with Cassie, Canopy reminded. If we're going to capture Cassie, we need to split the two of you up. I don't think you meeting yourself in the past is a good idea. Good point, but how? I don't remember splitting up. We should go back. Wait, that guy, I said, pointing at the mysterious man we had encountered upon entering the house. Except he wasn't there. There wasn't any mysterious man. And then I looked at Canopy and realized something. We need to stay. What? Why? And why are you looking at me like that? I think you're the mysterious man in the suit and tie. Me? Canopy asked. You're the same height and build. It's you. But I'm not wearing... I saw the clothes in the top room, I remembered. Quick, go put them on. Wait, but how will I know what words to say? I don't remember. Just go. We watched ourselves outside. We had a minute at least. Luckily, Canopy finished changing and went downstairs. He looked at me, shrugging. I hoped this was right, that it would work. What about you? He asked. You need to hide. Right. And remember, we need to leave, and I remember you disappearing about when we reached the 7th step. I got it. Before I could find a place to hide, I saw the other doors open and saw that nothing was as I had seen it before. There were mannequins, but they were all tucked to the side, and the coffin they were supposed to surround. Then I realized, we made our own investigation. I hastily arranged the mannequins into position, and then the coffin in the center. The gramophone I had heard before was apparently a one-of-a-kind gimmick used for pranks. It was in a child's prank box, and it utilized time delay to play a recorded sound. In that same box was also the Wall People Don't Like You notebook, also a creepy prank. It was us all along. Finally, I remembered there was a door, past me, and Cassie didn't open. I went there, entered the room, and locked it behind me. Through the wood, I heard the muffled noises of past me and Cassie enter the room. I hoped Canopy would be lucky enough and remember the words. Hey, what are you doing in my house? Talk to me, Canopy growled. There was a bit of hesitation, but I doubted that past me noticed. Wait, I know you, Canopy continued. Cassie White and Rainy Light. Those rhyme. Hey, talk to me. 7 steps passed, and I felt myself being transported back to the weird time travel tunnel again. Canopy pressing his rock must have caused the both of us to be returned to the Unity. In the corridor, I saw more of my future, and my past. But the future events I saw myself in were more important. I was, with a group of people, investigating something in the ocean. I saw myself with Canopy, and then I saw what looked to be Cassie kidnapping Canopy's sister. Only it was our present version of Cassie, and it seemed it was in the past. As soon as we were sent into the Unity, I told Canopy what I'd seen. Cassie's going to kidnap your sister Artemia, I exclaimed. She's in the past. Of course, Maisie murmured. The Garden of Eden's timeless. She could be anywhere. Canopy, I began. I think we caused the phone call too. You being there must have stopped Cassie from kidnapping her now. So, it was us all along, he muttered. But if I'm there saving my sister, does that mean you're the ones wearing the mask and watching our home? No, it can't be, because Maisie can't cross into the real world, I remembered. Wait, what about Quint? Yes, that's it, Canopy cheered. Quint was in Cassie's New Varela too, which means... Already on it, Maisie declared. Beside her, a doorway opened, and suddenly we saw Quint being sucked into the Unity. Ow, they moaned. Where in the world am I? Hi, I waved my hand. Hi, Rainy, Canopy, and a strange, mysterious tall lady. Yeah, this is going to all sound very bizarre, but... With that, I informed Quint of everything that had happened. How it was us all along. That we had caused our own investigations, with a little help from Maisie, of course. I don't believe this. We somehow caused our own investigation? Yes. Then where did the rules come from? Quint pointed out. The rules came from Watchtower headquarters, unless... Unless? I asked. Well, think about it. You guys decided to investigate further into New Varela and the mannequins because of what was experienced in that first house, Quint explained. What if the rules came from us now? We fabricate the rules and send them to the past Watchtower. What happens if we don't do that? I pointed out. Then you'll be erased from time. Or at least this version of you will, Maisie informed. It's predestination, really. By encountering the unity, the embodiment of time, you have cursed yourself to events in your own future. So we have to put the rules there, Quint murmured. If you remember these rules, Maisie began, I'll write them down and handle the fabrication. That leaves you three to deal with your problem. Right, what I saw in that weird time corridor thing, I murmured. Cassie kidnapping Canopy's sister. This is a great opportunity, however, Maisie said, pulling out the strange, featureless masks. These should give you invisibility powers, hopefully. They don't always work, but I hope it can. Wait, we also saw the weird masked people outside our house. That could be us, Canopy realized. I'll go save my sister, and the two of you can sneak into the house and try to find Cassie's book. That's perfect, I exclaimed. Only, well, in the phone call, Artemia said I was wearing a sweater, a dinosaur one, and right now I'm not wearing that, Canopy realized. Something like this? Maisie asked, with the sweater in her hands. Canopy's eyes lit up, recognizing its design. How do you... I designed the sweater, Maisie revealed. Huh, cool. Canopy studied it. One more thing, we received a box. Maisie mumbled, and then she snapped her fingers and revealed a box. I sent some mannequins to study you back then. This might be it. Perfect. Canopy put on the sweater and we were ready to go. First, Canopy was sent back in time to attempt to save his sister from present Cassie. Then, it was us two, Quint and me. I felt myself being dropped in the corridor of space and time, and then once again saw various images of the past, present, and future. Only something was wrong this time. Cassie wasn't in them. At least, not really. There were some images of her, but they were disfigured and sort of just not right. Like she was being turned inside out and then back again. I hoped whatever was happening to all the Cassies in the time stream was a sign we were winning, but I'd have to ask Maisie about that. But then, the entire corridor shook, and I heard Quint yelp in surprise. I was too transfixed on the bizarre changes in the timeline to let out a yelp of my own. Just before we were dropped into outside our front porch, I saw Cassie gone, instead being replaced by someone else. I could almost recognize the person, but it was too late as I was dropped into the real world. Ow, Quint growled. Shh, I whispered. Doesn't the front camera record audio? Then I remembered that when we had received the box, the front camera and door security had mysteriously been deactivated, probably from us time traveling. I told Quint this theory, and he seemed to agree. I remembered that the box had our names on it, and I wrote them down. I misspelled Canopy's last name, but then realized it was misspelled when I had seen it before. It was us all along. We opened the door, which, since the security was broken, allowed us to enter. Inside, we had to be quiet as Grayson, the priest, was inside resting. The masks, Quint told me. Right. I saw Quint put his on, and I saw his entire body flicker out of visibility. But Maisie was right about the masks not working very well. We were only turning invisible for around 5 minutes, and then we were visible for around 10 seconds, and then it repeated itself. Silently, we began to look for Cassie's Book of Life, first heading into Cassie's room. There, we rummaged through her various items, but we came up with nothing. The bookshelves had only various romance novels and the occasional sci-fi thriller, but there was no magic spellbook. Cassie's workstation, I suggested. Quint agreed, and the two of us headed to the small shed outside, where Cassie spent her time doing who knows what in there. Damn, I murmured. The door had a big lock on it, and I assumed only Cassie had the key. Locked. I think I saw the key back in her room, Quint replied. I sighed a sigh of relief, and we both returned into the house. Being as quiet as possible, Quint fetched the key, and we were about to return to the shed when we heard the front door open, revealing none other than the past version of me and Canopy entering the room. I think we should open the box, past Canopy suggested. It should be safe. Let's do it, I heard myself reply. It sounded weird, listening to myself. Next, I heard Quint whisper to me, invisible. Rainey, the laptop. You need to get to that website you saw. Ah, thanks. I turned it on, and it made a noise, alerting the other me. I could only do my best not to make a noise as past me appeared right next to me. A minute passed, and then the laptop loaded. I watched as the past versions of me and Canopy studied it, remembering what they said next. Oh my God, Canopy exclaimed, shock in his voice. What is it? That's my twin sister, he exclaimed, scared. What? Text Cassie and Quint to see if anything happened to them. Are they safe? Past Canopy questioned. I saw him call Artemia. Artemia, he called, the phone having been picked up. It's me, Canopy. A pause. What do you mean? Hold on, I'm putting you on speaker. As they spoke, Quint and I realized our invisibility would soon deactivate, and we needed to escape. Back door, I suggested. It would be far enough that we would be quiet enough. All right. We snuck our way out of the room. We made it. Halfway towards the forest where the shed was nearby, Quint dropped the key, and we searched for it. For a moment, we looked back at our home, and that's when we became visible and where the past had seen us. It all happened just as I remembered, only this time, we were the ones looking back at them. We returned to invisibility and headed to the shed. Quint opened the door, and inside we found a strange scene. All over the shed were these bizarre markings. It was magic, I assumed, some sort of symbolic one. A scorpion-like symbol was in the center, and in the middle of it was the Book of Life. There it was. Our mission was almost complete. Except, we had one problem. Cassie was there studying the book, entranced. She somehow hadn't noticed us when we opened the door. And then I realized we could take Cassie back to the Unity with us. Quint took a step back, surprised. It caused a stick to snap, alerting Cassie, who simply stared at us, alarmed. Who are you people? She snapped. Did the Unity send you? What? Before we could utter another word, Cassie took us by the throats and lifted us into the air. We choked, but I managed to get the communication stone out of my pocket. Hopefully, it would take her with me. And it did. I squeezed it, and before Cassie could realize what had just happened, we were sucked up into the time corridor. In the corridor, I saw the various Cassies fade away. Slowly. No, not fade away. It was more like they were being shattered into a million pieces, which then vanished into the wind. But the odd part was that they were being replaced. From seemingly nothing, I watched as someone replaced Cassie. The same person I had seen before. But before I was sure, I was sucked into the Unity. Yes! Yes, yes! Laughed Maisie, jumping up and down like a kid. Do you feel that? Time is being fixed. I don't feel anything, Canopy replied. He had returned before the two of us, it seemed. Me neither, I agreed. Maisie rolled her eyes. Quint, for his part, simply said nothing. Cassie was in the center of the room, confused. Her hands were tied up by some strange rope that I assumed was magic. You, she growled, aiming the words at Maisie. You're the witch that cursed my bloodline. You aren't supposed to exist, Maisie responded. I'm sorry for all the trouble I've caused you. I really am. But your quest for revenge against what I did so long ago means that you have to be erased. This is unfair, Cassie snarled. You created me by sending James White into the past. You can't just destroy me and all the lives you accidentally made. Those lives are still people. I hate to say this, Quint began, but Cassie's got a point. She's still a, person, even though she caused all your time problems. I agree, Maisie said. But unfortunately, the decision to keep her existence is up to time itself. I would gladly spare her if I could, but I cannot. What do you mean? Canopy questioned. This. Suddenly, Maisie's eyes began to glow abnormally white, and then her form began to change. It was as if she was being turned inside out. Yet it didn't seem painful at all. I watched as she changed and became something... No, someone else. Replacing her was now a man in a train conductor's hat, with the suit to match. He had glowing white eyes, the color of bone, yet wore gold-rimmed glasses that I was sure was bone. What the? Quint gasped. What are you? What? I murmured. Canopy just looked on in shock. Behold, the form in which the almighty god of time manifests itself, Cassie said, a touch of sarcasm in her voice. The pale, strange man that was the guardian of time looked at her. It is I, Claudiel, he spoke, his voice melodic and soothing. Cassie, even though she has rights, must be erased from time. If not, the timeline will break, and an ancient horror will be unleashed. Ha! Ancient horrors! What a joke! Cassie snapped. Even now, it begins to awaken, he continued. I am sorry. We watched in confusion as the strange being reformed itself back into Maisie. See, Maisie said, it's not up to me. And with that, we could only watch as Maisie turned to Cassie and uttered some strange words I'd never heard before. And then it was over. Cassie began to change, turning into shadows, distant pieces of herself, and then into other things. Into bizarre shapes resembling herself, triangles, squares, and then changing into a glass-like version. And then slowly, we watched our former leader fade away, being shattered, transformed into a million pieces, and then into nothing more, and nothing less. We felt the entire world shake, causing Maisie to smile. Deep down, I knew that time was in its right place. What did you do? Quint exclaimed. What if there was a way to... To what? Keep the white bloodline alive? Maisie finished. Even if Cassie lived, I'd have to erase one of her future descendants. Oh. Deep down, the members of Watchtower 7C would mourn for Cassie. She was our friend, even though she, at the end, had used us to try and take revenge on, well, time. So it's over then? I asked. To my surprise, Maisie said, No. What do you mean, no? Canopy asked, voicing my thoughts. The past version of Cassie may have been erased, Maisie began. But time still needs to catch up to the present. And also, the shadow person that saved you, Rainey. The shadow person? Me? On the contrary, it's me. You, Maisie? Yes, Maisie replied. I'm the one who helps you. I will go to Cassie's New Varela and attempt to get the rest of her pages, and then help you in the past. Then I'll arrange the rules and the mission for that. That sounds like there's something more to that, Quint pointed out. Cassie's in the Garden of Eden now. She needs to be stopped. You guys saw a cabin there. It's because of me, Maisie informed. The garden is timeless, and now, since Cassie's been erased, she's weakened. That's why the cabin you spoke of was there. That's where we're going? Canopy inquired. Through the cabin and into the garden? Maisie nodded. So, are you all ready? I paused, then nodded my head. Around me, I watched Quint and Canopy do the same. Maisie waved goodbye, and then behind her a doorway appeared. It opened, and through it, Maisie entered the world of New Varela. And for the three of us, we fell into the time corridor and soon arrived in the Garden of Eden. I found myself alone in a bedroom. I wondered where the others were when I realized I still carried a radio. I hoped it worked, and to my surprise, it did. "Guys?" "Ah, Rainey," Canopy replied. "I'm at an attic, I think." "I'm, surrounded by living mannequins," Quint said. "But it's like they know we aren't the enemy." "Huh, cool," I muttered. I then heard footsteps, ones that weren't Quint and Canopy. They were too far away to have made it all the way here. With no choice, I hid under the bed in the corner of the room, just as the door opened, revealing me and Canopy. Or rather, the version of us when we explored the place. I remember I had seen a dark-haired person under the bed watching us. But if it was me, the hair couldn't have been dark. My hair was dyed blue. No, it was black now. It was like I had two memories now. One where I had made the decision to dye it blue, and one where I left it black. Of course, Cassie had convinced me to dye it. And no Cassie meant black hair. I locked eyes with the other version of the team and waited until they left. When I was sure I was safe and that past me and Canopy were gone, I stood up, then met the others in the center room with the fireplace. "Canopy, it was me all along," I exclaimed. "Your hair," he noticed. "It's..." "Exactly," I exclaimed. "Great. But how do we find Cassie?" Quint inquired. "I have a feeling she'll find us," I murmured. Already, I knew that Cassie had found us. It just felt different. Our suspicions were confirmed when trees and grass began to replace the cabin. Wood and plastic became grass and leaves. Once plastic fruit became real, solid, and juicy. Cassie was here. "Hello," she greeted, appearing in front of us, like a chameleon revealing itself. "I know that Maisie's erased me. But I know this. Before I vanish, I will have done more than enough damage to the timeline to, well, have my revenge." What have you done?" Canopy growled. "I haven't done anything yet, but soon," Cassie revealed. "With the last traces of the book, I have commanded this heavenly garden to expand, taking the entire world and making it timeless. No amount of erasure can fix the very enemy of time, life, and the renewal of things." "No," I said. "What do you mean, no?" "You won't do this," I declared. "Because even though you've done all this, I know you won't doom the entire world to whatever plans you have. Because I know you're still human, and that you wouldn't want the world to suffer as you did, being an enemy of time." Cassie laughed, as if she was going to win the day, but I knew it was a lie. She had begun to fade from reality. "What if I do?" she murmured. "What if I decide to doom the world?" "Because once upon a time, we knew each other," I announced. "You, me, the team. So I know you won't do this. Maisie might think you will, but I know you won't. You aren't evil. You let me join the team." Cassie laughed, then said, "Maybe I was just using you." "You could have chosen anyone else to join the team, but you stuck with me," I pointed out. "See, that's an act of kindness. You've helped us all grow as people since we all met you." "That," Cassie murmured. "So don't do this, whatever you're doing," I said. "It's over, Cassie." "It is." Cassie began to fade, turning to a strange glass version of herself. As she did, the world all around us, the garden, began to collapse. Cassie's plan, if she was going to go through with it, wasn't going to. Somehow, I knew this was her, choosing not to do what she had planned to. "I guess this is it," Canopy spoke. You really were a great team leader. No, more than that. A friend. Yeah, Cassie replied, half laughing. We might not have known each other the best, Quint began, but I always knew you were a good person. Thanks, Cassie laughed. You too. Well, you know, I told her. Well, you really were the best intern I've ever worked with, she responded, sadness in her voice. Then, I guess this is it. Goodbye. Cassie waved a hand as she began to shatter and vanish into nothingness. Goodbye, I murmured, raising a hand. And then, it was over. Cassie was gone. The world around us shook, and before we could say anything, we found ourselves back at Watchtower 7-C. Only, things were different. Just slightly, but still different. In my head, I heard the voice of Maisie saying, "Thank you for your time." I was at the Watchtower's dinner table, the one where we would trade stories. Sitting around me was Canopy and Quint. I began, confused. I was dizzy, and I was having trouble remembering properly. I was remembering 2 different timelines, one with Cassie, and one where she never existed. Was that all real? Time travel? Canopy pointed out. Causing our own investigations? The Unity? It was real, Canopy agreed. Then, the 3 of us heard a knock on the dining room's door. Come in, I confusedly said. The door opened, revealing a woman just a bit older than me wearing an orange hoodie with a strange symbol in the center. The woman that I had seen in the timeline, the one replacing Cassie. She was also the one in the photograph I had seen back at the house. Hi guys, she said. Having dinner without me? In our confusion, we hadn't realized a big meal was in front of us. I'm sorry, began Quint, but who are you again? Oh, come on, Quint, she laughed. We've been friends for years. It's me, Nona Kane. Team leader? Ring a bell? My new memory remembered who she was, our team leader. She wasn't Cassie, but my memory told me this Nona Kane was just as great. I saw Quint laugh, and then assure her he remembered. I saw in his eyes that he, too, remembered her from another memory. One more thing, Canopy began. Where's Grayson, the priest? Off on an adventure? Who? Nona looked confused, as if she'd never heard of him before. I searched my memory. He wasn't in this one. This new world. Huh. Never mind, Canopy murmured. Do you know, I started. A Maisie Krylov? Oh yeah, her. She works at Watchtower Central Command, I think, Nona explained. In charge of cursed artifacts or something. Hey, what's with all your weird questions, guys? Nothing. We were just talking about a dream I had, I told her. Cool, she smiled. You guys want to tell me about it? Sure, I answered. And with that, I began to tell our new team leader the story. The one with time travel, the Unity, Maisie Krylov, and most importantly, Cassie White. Because, even affected by time, the Watchtower dinner table was where stories were told.